Hi, folks. Welcome to the channel. I'm Jim. It is Thursday, February 12th, 2026. Time for a reading update. Haven't done one of these in a while. I have a couple books that I finished I want to talk about, and then also what's kind of on the active reading list, and I'll just briefly mention those. It's good to see everybody again. I'm wearing my Phillies hoodie because pitchers and catchers just started down in Florida. Spring training is just a couple weeks away, and we know what that brings. Baseball season, warmer weather, summertime. It's still been very snowy here in southeast Pennsylvania. We finally made it above freezing. I think we went for 2 weeks or more. We didn't even crack freezing for a high temperature, and there were a lot of single-digit temps and wind chills below that. So it's been kind of brutal. The snow just has not melted. It's like cement, and it's going to be a while till it turns to slush and we can sort of shovel the rest of our way out of it. But I'll take it for now. The sun is out today. Might get out for another walk. And we're just kind of soldiering on as best we can. I heard, and I was looking at some kind of weather graphic, and it said, this is just in case you might think I'm just whining about this winter. It's actually pretty historic. So in Philadelphia, in the Philadelphia region, they measure, a snow accumulation and how long that lasts. So we've had over 16 days, I think, of 5 inches or more of snow. And for most places, it's more like 10 to 12 inches, and without snow melt. And I think we're in third place now, all time, since they started keeping records, where we had such an extended period where the snow just didn't melt. And, it's created a lot of havoc with just getting around. But winter at least feels like winter this year, and I'll be glad as it gets towards spring. So with that as my little prelude, let's talk about a couple books I finished. The first is, let me get it here. Here we go. I finished The Great Ideas Today, 1971. And I just read the pieces up until the supplements to the great book. So I didn't read the complete volume, but I still counted it as a completed book because it's hundreds of pages of articles. And I won't cover this in any kind of detail. I have a whole playlist for these titles. What is happening, though, is in terms of coverage, with that series, I have done all the 60s volumes starting, I think, with 1961. And then at the same time, I'm reading these chronologically. So this is 1971. So if you were to draw a graph, these lines are now about to converge. So at some point, I'm going to intersect, and I'll get to the point where I have to finish a volume before I can do a video on it. And these take a little while to get through because a lot of these articles are pretty dry, to put it mildly, but they're still fun to read. So I finally made it through that. That was good. And then the other book I finished, which was a very enjoyable read, is Craig Davidson, The Saturday Night Ghost Club. And this is a recently published work of fiction. I'll read you the blurb on the back. Published by Penguin Books. This first came out, I think, I want to say 2018, and this Penguin edition is 2023. And I heard about this from Denise at Dalby Books. She got me interested in it, and I really enjoyed this read. So here's the back copy. Growing up in 1980s Niagara Falls, a seedy but magical, slightly haunted place, Jake Baker spends most of his time with his uncle Calvin, a kind but eccentric enthusiast of occult artifacts and conspiracy theories. The summer Jake turns 12, he befriends a pair of siblings new to town, and so Calvin initiates them all into the Saturday Night Ghost Club, But as the summer goes on, what begins as a seemingly lighthearted project will uncover mysteries darker than any of its members, young or grown, had imagined. With the alternating warmth and heartbreak of the best coming-of-age stories, The Saturday Night Ghost Club is a note-perfect novel that establishes Craig Davidson as a remarkable literary talent. And if you don't know who Craig Davidson is, I did not. I have a little bio of him somewhere. Yeah, Craig Davidson has published 5 other books of literary fiction. Rust and Bone, which was made into a Golden Globe nominated feature film. I haven't seen it. The Fighter, Sarah Court, the Scotiabank Giller Prize nominated Cataract City, and Cascade. Davidson is a graduate of the Iowa Writers Workshop. That's a pretty good pedigree. And his articles and journalism have been published in Esquire, GQ, and the Washington Post, among other places. He lives in Toronto, Canada, with his partner and their child. He also publishes best-selling horror fiction under the pseudonym Nick Cutter. Has anyone read any Nick Cutter books? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. You've got a reading group discussion guide available at penguinrandomhouse.com. I haven't looked at that. I should have looked at that before making the video to see if there's any good discussion questions. But yeah, so we're talking about Niagara Falls here on the Canadian side. And how would I describe this book without giving too much away? And I don't want to spoil a whole lot. It's very much a coming-of-age story. That's primarily what it is. I've seen it build as a kind of Stranger Things type of book, you know, the TV series. But I can see why they make those comparisons, but that's not really accurate. So don't be fooled by that description. It's not really that, but this is very much in a setting of like growing up in the 70s and 80s. So you're talking about, I think this would really appeal to a Gen X readership and other generations, of course, but especially that demographic, I think would immediately resonate with this book. And it's fun on that level. There is a creepy side to it. There is a sort of a dark realism here, and I can't give things away. I can't spoil things, but it's less of a horror type, speculative fiction type genre book, and it's not really a YA book. It's much more like literary fiction. But it goes down easy, it reads really easily, and it has this sort of dark psychological theme to it that emerges as the book goes along. And pretty much all your questions are answered by the end of the book. He really ties up the loose ends, which some people may like and others may not. I thought it was fine. I was really satisfied with it. But what really appealed to me the most was just this growing up story, and you know, the relationships between this kid Jake, and he's kind of overweight and he's bullied, and you know, and then there's like a love interest, this crush, or the girl crushing on him, and she's a little older, and the friends he's trying to make, and then the family dynamics, and then what's very well depicted is the sort of the gritty realism of Niagara Falls. This is the Niagara Falls like you don't see like when you just go there as a tourist. I actually have never been to Niagara Falls. It's on my bucket list. One of these days we'll drive up there. But the kind of seedy side of it, the working class side, like the back end view of Niagara Falls, and that was so well depicted. So you know, it was really good. I have a couple passages I might want to read to you here. Let me pull them up. So this is a little bit of a scene towards the end of the book where Dove, who's the girl that's kind of the love interest, she and Jake are interacting. So just to give you a flavor for the prose and the scene setting and some of the themes here. Once I read it, I'll know why I picked out the passage. It says, it's first person narrator here. So Jake is narrator, who, by the way, when he's narrating this in retrospection. So he's basically like a brain surgeon now. So he's looking back on this time of childhood. We sprinted into the rides area. The Viking ship rose 200 feet away. Behind it lay scrubland thick with trees. Dove, that's the girl, ran hard, flinging her head back, her mouth open to the sky. Despite the panic, her eyes were bright and she was smiling. I was scared, with that crystalline, childish fear of being caught and punished. That fear thrashed behind my rib cage like a bird in cupped hands, perhaps the last truly childlike instance of that emotion I'd ever feel. That fear is a kind of magic. As you get older, the texture of your fear changes. You're no longer afraid of the things you had absolute faith in as a child, that you'd die in convulsions from inhaling the gas from a shattered light bulb, that chewing apple pips brought on death by cyanide poisoning, or that a circus dwarf had actually bounced off a trampoline into the mouth of a hungry hippo. You stop believing in the things my uncle believed in. Even if your mind wants to go there, it has lost the nimbleness needed to make the leap. That magic gets kicked out of you, churched out, shamed out, or worse, you steal it from yourself. It gets embarrassed out of you by the kids who run the same stretch of streets and grown-ups who say it's time to put away childish things. By degrees, you kill your own magic. Before long, your fears become adult ones, crushing debts and responsibilities, sick parents and sick kids, the possibility of dying unremembered or unloved, fears of not being the person you were so certain you'd grow up to be. Looking back, I wish I'd relished those final instants of childish fear, that saccharine sweet taste of terror curdling like sour milk in my mouth. So a very fine retrospective passage there. Really like the themes he's hitting on there. Also, on the theme of first love, let me see if I can pull a passage from page 179. Yeah, this actually it's on page 177. So this is like at the end of a chapter. Again, coming of age theme coming out here, first love, that kind of idea. There are still days when I'll drift back to the instant when, disoriented by Percy Elkins's exploding firework, I'd seen Dove standing in the schoolyard with a skateboard slung like an axe over her shoulder. Years later, I assisted on an operation where a surgeon, many times my superior, unblocked a neural pathway to give a 4-year-old girl sight. I was there when she opened her eyes. The moment she saw her parents and brother, who before then had been merely voices, she broke into an astounded cascade of giggles. That was the closest I can come to my own sense of seeing Dove that first time. Something unlocked inside me, and these fresh possibilities flooded in, opening my whole world up. I'd never fall for anyone as hard as I fell for Dove, Yellowbird. You always fall hardest the first time, don't you? There's no bottom to it. As I reached teenagehood and beyond, I'd hear guys say, I just don't get women. And sure, I didn't get women either. But wasn't that the best part? The not knowing. Where else could that wild, passionate, scream it from the rooftops love come from? Yeah. We've been there. We hear you, Craig Davidson. That's good stuff. Lovely book. Easy read. Really enjoyed it. And again, especially Gen X readers, I think will connect with this one right away. So those are the 2 books that I finished. Now, just to briefly get on to active reads, I am working my way through Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, an American Slave. I'm doing a series on that, kind of going like chapter chunks at a time. So I'll complete this by the end of February. This is a reread for me. I'm also reading Shakespeare's Hamlet for my 10-year reading plan series. Loving Hamlet. Just so great to come back to that play. It's been too long since I've read it. And it all floods back. What a great play that is. So I think I'm in Act 3 or 4. So I need to just dedicate 1 or 2 more nights to finishing it off, and then hopefully in the next week or so I'll bang out another video on that. This is a fun read. Well, actually, let's talk about the not so fun read. The World is Will and Idea by Arthur Schopenhauer, which is just heavyweight philosophy. This is like year 2 or 3 of trying to get through this book. Like I can only read a few pages at a time, and I don't stick to it every day. So, you know, I have that much farther to go. Actually, not that much, because there's a long appendix, which I don't think I'm going to read. So I think I'm under 100 pages to go. But you know what? There's something about Schopenhauer I like that keeps me going. I think the second half of the book is easier for me to digest than the first half. And I am sort of in the same camp as Schopenhauer philosophically, I think, to the degree that I can understand him. But we'll talk about this more when I finish it, if ever I finish it. This is a much more fun read that I've been working on, and it's Gene Shepherd, A Fistful of Fig Newtons. Gene Shepherd, I hope you know this guy. If you are a fan of A Christmas Story, which is now a classic Christmas film, they just run it endlessly during Christmas season. It came out in the early 1980s. Gene Shepherd wrote that film. He is the narrator of that film. But long before Christmas Story, he was writing. He was a bit of a stand-up comic too, but his main claim to fame was as a radio host, a radio talk show that he had on several stations. And then he also had a couple TV shows, I think on New Jersey Public Television that we used to watch. But Gene Shepherd is a humorist, a raconteur, a really brilliant guy. He's a very good writer too. And if you like the narration of A Christmas Story, you will love his books. And you know, my father I have him to thank for introducing me to Gene Shepherd. It's he just raved about Gene Shepherd, and sometimes we would listen to him on the radio. Like, we lived in the Philly area, but you could sometimes tune in WOR in New York, the New York City radio station. And if we could tune that in, he had a radio show at the time on there. And I remember very fond memories of listening to Gene Shepherd with my dad, and we would watch his TV shows. And then there was 1 or 2 PBS dramas that came out based on some of his stories. And then, of course, A Christmas Story, which I have a great memory of seeing that with my father when it came out in the theater. So these are just stories from childhood. This is his wheelhouse. And he's an American humorist. He's got a great sense of humor, great eye for detail. Like, I just love his style, and it's nice. I think I have most of his books now, and I'm finally getting around to reading them. So a full review is coming when I finish it, but that's a lot of fun. And then I'll finish up with this book that I'm absolutely loving, Wuthering Heights by Emily Brontë. This is the Heritage Press edition. I might do a brief video on this. It's illustrated. It's not dated, but I researched it, and I'm pretty sure this came out in 1974. And I'm about halfway through it, and I have not read Wuthering Heights since 11th grade, not 10th grade, high school. And, you know, I'll do a much fuller review when I finish this, but it's been too long since I've read Wuthering Heights. And I remember at the time in 10th grade that we read Jane Eyre and Wuthering Heights, both Brontes, or 2 of them. And I much preferred Jane Eyre at the time. I think Wuthering Heights was a little too confusing to me. I wasn't ready for it. Like, the characters kind of freaked me out. Like, Heathcliff was sort of menacing to me, but I think it was also just what I'm realizing now is the way the book was written. Like, it was challenging for me to follow it. I was a pretty naive reader. Boy, am I enjoying it this time. It is just incredible. Like, I just yeah, I drink it up. I read 1 or 2 chapters at a time and just really savoring it. So I had intended on reading this. Like, we've been engaging with some booktubers, and it kind of came up, and I'm like, oh yeah, I really should reread Wuthering Heights. And then I discovered that they're coming out, maybe on Valentine's Day. It's coming out a new film version of the book with Margot Robbie, I think is Kathy. So yeah, I'm very tempted to see that in the theater, but I'll probably wait till it comes out and streams. But I definitely will watch it. But that was extra incentive to just kind of keep going. And I think a lot of people are reading Wuthering Heights in the month of February. And boy, is it intense. And it's fun to read too. It's just really, really great storytelling. Yeah, just gushing so far with Wuthering Heights. And I really like this edition too. That is my reading update. So there's other books like peripheral to that, but these are the main ones that are active. And let me know in the comments if you have any thoughts about these books, especially Saturday Night Ghost Club and Jean Shepherd and Wuthering Heights and all of them. But also let us know what you've been reading. Have you finished anything in the last week or two? Plug away in the comments. You can always ask questions, and you can always reach out to me by email. The email is in the show description. Thanks for watching. Hope everyone is doing well. We'll talk to you again, I hope, real soon. Bye-bye.